Welcome to our next session on business insights for small business. In this session we're going to be covering cash flow management and why it's critical for small to medium businesses. And once again I'm here with Judy Reynolds from Opening Gates. Welcome again, Judy.
Thank you.
Judy, from your experience as a former award-winning accountant in practice, how do you see the effects of cash flow management in small businesses?
Oh, extraordinarily limiting. What we're seeing at the moment is that something like 74% of small businesses are experiencing late payments, or their clients not paying, or the customers not paying, and it's having a critical impact on their ability to pay their creditors and to pay themselves and their wages. So it has a really absolute limiting impact, and entrepreneurs struggle with that, of course. So it's really worth considering in depth.
Yeah, I think a lot of small businesses don't really understand the difference between profit and cash flow. And I've certainly, and I'm sure we've all certainly seen many profitable businesses absolutely struggle because of cash flow, and even some of them actually fall over.
Yeah.
And the business needs to ensure that they have enough cash flow to meet their ongoing, certainly their current needs, which is all about liquidity.
Yeah.
Unlike large corporations, small businesses don't tend to have access to finance like the larger corporations do, so they can find themselves being a bit squeezed, and it's vital for them to have a plan as to how they're going to manage their cash. Is this something that you've experienced in the past? Or?
Absolutely. I think particularly in the strategy space. So when we're strategizing, we focus too much on winning the quote, perhaps, or getting the sale, and not the entire process from the quote, winning the quote, to achieving the profitability and getting the cash in the bank. So it's like let's a sale done, let's deliver, but the cash needs to hit the bank, and that's where the problems have. We have profitable businesses going broke.
Yeah.
Why do you think cash flow management is critical for small to medium businesses? What are you seeing?
Well, firstly, it helps them. Proper cash flow management helps them avoid missed payments. It helps them to avoid problems where they're paying their employees. It reduces their reliance on debt, and also gives them opportunities for growth if they can manage their cash flow properly. If not, then the growth opportunities can be considerably constrained. The common causes that we see really of poor cash flow management is poor debtor control, poor stock control. And debtor control, it's important to make sure that your customers up front know what your terms and conditions are, what your payment terms are, and that you manage that. And this now can be done with some really great software out there which will automate a lot of the process. Stock control, as I mentioned, inventory, too much inventory can kill a business. And I've actually had the experience of a couple of, not so recent, but past years that just had way too much stock, and at the end their banks pulled the pin. So stock control can be absolutely critical to small business. Things like irregular sales or seasonal patterns, once again, we need to make sure that our cash flow takes into account of these seasonal fluctuations that may be coming up. And failing to forecast, well, it's almost like planning to fail.
Yes, understand. And there's some critical KPIs, or key performance indicators, that help us understand where we are, and in terms of managing cash flow as well, sort of understanding what our debtors' days are. How much cash do we have in debtors for how long? How quickly we're turning our stock into cash, so our stock turn. Work in progress, how quickly we're invoicing once the job is finished, and how we're monitoring the profit by job. All of those things are critical conversations that we have with our accountants on a continuous basis, as those conversations are worth less if they had 6 months after the event. So it's best that we're having these conversations early rather than after we're doing the tax. Or
Well, yeah, I guess one of the things that small businesses tend to do often is is that they're looking back, they're not looking forward. And looking back is, it can be good if you're doing really, really well. But can be even better if you are doing really well, but it's certainly a recipe for disaster if you're looking back and you're thinking, well, you're seeing things are going wrong. Well, you should be preempting those things going wrong by making sure that you are cash flow forecasting. And cash flow forecasting is not a hard thing, but it's usually something that small businesses themselves can't manage. So that's when they need to seek their advisors, seek their accountants, put in some good cash flow forecasts, and that will mitigate a lot of their problems.
So in terms of data management, what's your advice around putting data management processes into place in small business?
Well, I think as I mentioned a little bit earlier, the crucial aspects of data management can't be understated, but putting in place things like software that's available to help plan your data management, to follow up your debtors, to make sure that they're not growing out to 60, 90, 120 days, that they are getting constant reminders. Perhaps picking up the phone. I think it gets to a stage where you've just got to pick up the phone and ring people and say, hey, how are you going? We notice our accounts running out beyond our terms. Can we put in place something? A lot of small businesses don't pick up the phone and they just run out. So that's incredibly important. But establishing clear payment terms up front, I think is essential, so that your suppliers, with your customers, know what their requirements are, how we're dealing with each other, and ensuring that we then follow up that. I've mentioned the automated reminders. Not something I put forward very often, but perhaps early payment discounts. Certainly not discounts after the time, but suggesting that, look, if you do pay on time, we may give you a discount, but not certainly in arrears.
That's factored into our pricing, and if we're going to have that policy in place.
Exactly.
Yeah. And stock control. I mean, you mentioned that carrying stock so that you've got obsolete stock, it's just not turning over as quickly as it should be. What sort of can you give me some examples of how we could manage that better? In a small business sense, I mean, obviously the larger corporations have very sophisticated stock management, but from a smaller business perspective, what could they do?
Yeah, look, smaller businesses also need to be aware of just what stock they are holding and how often does it turn over. We need to be able to identify which stock turns over quickly, which doesn't, and then minimise those that we can get on more of a just-in-time sort of basis. So managing that side of inventory is obviously it's crucial, but making sure that we don't order stock that we don't actually already pretty much have a buyer for. I see in small business, not so much these days, because I think small businesses are much more aware, and I think they can usually get supplies much quicker than they could in the past. But just managing your stock so that you're not holding stock that you're not going to turn over quickly is crucial. It's
crucial, yeah. So I know often we fall into the trap of, if we order in bulk, we're going to get a discount, but then that discount evaporates if that stock's been held on the shelves for a long period of time.
Yeah, I think what people have got to realise is stock is cash. Stock is cash, and it's just cash sitting there that then can't be used in the cash flow of the business. Yeah. And as I say, I've had a couple of firms, not so recently, but in past years, that have gone under because of stock holdings, and they got stuck with stock that they couldn't return. So making sure you're only holding what you need for your short-term requirements is crucial. And as you say, bulk buying can be a disaster if it's stock that you don't really feel confident is going to turn over quickly.
If we call the cash cycle, from we've ordered the stock, it's gone into work in progress, it's been invoiced, it goes in, and then eventually the cash hits the bank. So the focus is, how do we shorten the cash cycle? How do we shorten the time from the purchase of the stock item to the cash in the bank? It should be a continuous process, a continuous focus. Is that something that we could do better in the small business world?
Oh, look, no doubt. And it's really, once again, it boils down to the resources that the small business owner has. And we find often that it's a case of too much focus, or just being dragged too much into doing it. And these other things start to then fall on the wayside, and the stock management in particular is one of the first that slips, and you can find that we're holding stock for a long time that we don't need to hold, or we shouldn't have perhaps got in the first place.
One of the areas I've found is from a business owner's perspective, is educating their leadership team, or the people that are doing the invoicing, how imperative it is that when the job's finished, it's invoiced immediately, rather than, oh, we'll invoice it at the end of the month. So it's still in work in progress, nowhere, it hasn't moved into the next stage of cash flow cycle. So just having some policy around as soon as that job is finished, it's invoiced.
Yeah, well, I often say to my clients, if you haven't invoiced your customers, they tend not to pay you. So invoicing immediately when the job's done, and look, particularly in trades and things, there is software now that you can invoice even on site as soon as the job's finished. So you just got to, as you say, reduce those cycles, invoice straight away, chase up the debtors, make sure you've got a proper debtor and follow-up management system. So those sort of things are crucial in maintaining your cash flow and keeping you in front of it.
Yeah, and delegating to technology if you can. Yeah.
Use the software that's out there. There is a plethora of software out there now which will help small businesses, and these days it's not that expensive for small business owners.
So with a small business that is looking to improve their cash management or the cash flow management, what would you recommend? What's their action?
The action is, firstly, contact your advisors, contact your accountant, find out what sort of what data management you need, because once again, small businesses, especially when they're starting out, they don't know, and they don't know what they don't know. So, contact your accountant, sit down, work through the systems. Says, okay, what are our engagements? What are our terms of trade? What's our data follow-up system? Put all these in place. So, yes, contact your accountants, and if we can help you, which I'm sure we can, contact us either by phone, email, or on the link below. So, Judy, once again, thank you very much for this session, and we look forward to the next one with you.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you.